Salutations, everyone. I am back. Hope you guys have a happy new year, as they say, which is really weird that's a big of a deal as it is, or at least people make it out to be. Now, I understand the whole, the calendar flipping over, the speedometer hitting a new number. I understand that. It's like, hey, cool. New number. That's fine. You could put, your kitten calendar, whatever you want on the wall. And, it has, certain things to go with it. Like, well, it's the end of a year, so you can kind of reflect on the year. Award season is going to be starting here soon when it comes to, movies and stuff. And and also lets you, get excited for what is going to happen in the year. What are the new movies? What are the new games? At least for me, I don't know, some people, what they look forward to. That's just me. But the whole, New Year's resolution thing, that's a part that I don't get. I don't understand it. Why do you have to wait until, January 30 or January 1st or December 31st or whatever, first week in January to decide that you should better yourself in one way or another? I don't get that. You always see these comments and these posts like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna be a better person, I'm gonna make more money, or I'm going to put notes in a jar about everything that happened to me good this year, and then at the end of the year I'm going to read them all. And it's like, you're not going to do this shit. It's all these transparently vapid things that you just know are never going to happen. These delusional people just trying to make themselves feel better by saying that they're going to do something when everyone in the world knows that they're not going to do it, but no one calls them out on it because I guess I'm not there to do it. So getting back in the game, I was, absent for a little bit. Had a couple scheduled uploads, which unfortunately cut it off at the last, 5 or 6 seconds. Don't know why I did that. So I am back. I was just, taking a little break for the holidays, see family and junk. And, there's a lot of stuff I need to catch up on. Playing Call of Duty now and Battlefield, it's a little weird. Trying to get back into the game, so to speak. And, the heavy duty mode came out for Call of Duty, which I have tried. It's not really that different. I don't, I played it for a good bit, but if someone didn't tell me that it was different, I would not have noticed, in all honesty. But there was just a lot of, 2.5 KD honey badger kids hiding in a corner, so not a lot of fun with it so far. I mean, the difference just doesn't seem, that large to me, so the experience isn't that much different. But let me know what you guys think. And as far as this past year, 2013, it's done. But it gives us time to reflect on things. What happened during the year, and people will always go with news and stuff and YouTube videos. And I like to think of it in certain ways. It's kind of always nice to see those videos of the highlights. And what will define this year as far as what happened in the news and such, and that's always really cool to be like, oh yeah, that's right, that happened this year, or just to be able to see what your frame of reference is going to be for what 2013 was, as if you had a yearbook at the end of every year, and just a couple of pages for what was in vogue, what was the big stories. What happened, who won what, and, what was in the theaters and what new trends started this year and such. It's always cool to look back and see, what started and what defined this coming year. And when you look at movies, 2013 was the year of the flop. I mean, there was a lot of flops this year in the box office. I mean, you don't have to look far. From January to December, there were flops out the wazoo. Now, there's always going to be flops, but there was a lot of them. Some of them you could see coming a mile away, like The Lone Ranger. But others, you really didn't know if they were going to be, huge hits or if they were going to be flops, some of the sci-fi stuff and book adaptations. Such as Ender's Game, which I enjoyed. I don't know why people give that so much shit. Especially the people that read the books and such. But there was a lot of flops this year, and next year, I mean, granted, there's a lot of flops, but there's still a lot of good movies, and I'll get to that in my top 10 movies of 2013, my second annual top 10 movies of the year. Even though last year I did top 11, just because there's so many goddamn good movies in 2012. 2013, totally different story. 2013 definitely lagged behind in the movie department when it came to good quality movies. Not as many of them, and the ones that weren't as much as the previous year. And I'll get into that in my top 10 movies of the year. So I hope you guys will enjoy that. It's one of those videos that I just have to put a lot of effort into in order to make it consumable for people. And I like doing it. Who doesn't like, top 10s and top 5s and, lists and stuff like that, especially when it's, non-numerical, where it's, it's 100% opinionated, as all non-numerical based lists are going to be. So obviously, take everything with a, grain of salt, that this isn't what you think, this is what I think, kind of a thing. But 2013, not that great for films, in all honesty. I have my list compiled and ready to make that video, but I don't think that many of my top 4 would have made my top 10 if they came out last year. But 2014, holy crap, this looks like a huge movie year. A great deserved bounce back from what we experienced in 2013, and not a lot of sequels. Everyone says that this is the year of the sequel, and the next year they say this is the year of the sequel. They can't say that about 2014. This is not the year of the sequel by any means. There's only 5 or 6 big, or I call it quote unquote big sequels that you can say are coming out, and none of them are really that big. I guess the biggest ones you could say would be Captain America, Winter Soldier, Amazing Spider-Man 2, X-Men Days of Futures Past. Those are really the biggest sequels that you could think of, but a lot of new movies coming out that I will get into in my top, I want to say 15 most anticipated movies of 2014, just because there's so many darn good ones, and I don't want to exclude some. But when it comes to video games in 2013, you can't really say, in the past, in recent years, that there's been a bad year for movies. Some have been great, but none of them have been really bad. And, this year gave us, a few good games, as every year does. Not as many as, some of the previous years. But I think 2014 is going to be a big year for video games. A lot of new IPs. Once again, not a whole lot of sequel this, sequel that. A lot of new IPs coming, with the new consoles to get them, on the fast track to superstardom. With there's just so many to name, and I'll go over those in my top 10 most anticipated video games of 2014. So a lot of big editing heavy videos for me to make here in the near future. But there's a lot of big ones that's it's going to put the new consoles on the map, as well as some sequels, obviously, and it's just a lot to look forward to, a lot to look back at, and I hope you guys will enjoy the new year, and I hope I will as well. Final score here is 35-10 with the SA805. Laters.